slapped like a guilty thing. One heartbeat, it pointed north, the steady agreement of maps and mornings, and the next it spun away and stopped as if listening. Mara felt it through Jonah's worn leather compass case, a tiny, traitorous pulse under her thumb. Outside, the ridge breathed cold. Inside, something else tightened.
Do you feel that? Listen closely now. A compass is a promise. North. Home. The way back. Tonight's story is called The Needle That Wouldn't Point Home.
This isn't just about a lost brother. It's about what happens when the tools we trust start to point us toward our own grief.
Mara grew up with that ridge on the edge of her childhood. Trail boots with the same scuff, a dent in a brass compass from a fall when she was 7. Jonah, her brother, was the kind of person who would wander until someone called him back. He went out after a storm with a short message, "I'll be back before dark." He did not come back.
He always joked about getting lost just to make the searchers sweat. That morning he left a dent in his compass that we both knew. When I checked it before heading up, the needle swung. It matched my phone's bearing at first, and then it didn't. It froze, pointing at a slope that wasn't on any map I carried. At first, they called it a fluke. Cheap compasses fail. Magnetized objects mislead. Old machinery does strange things. But then other things happened. A neighbor found a pocket watch in a hedge. Its tiny second hand stopped pointing the same impossible way. A surveyor's level wobbled. A donated compass from the volunteer bin insisted on the same bearing. It felt like the land itself had chosen a preference.
We ran readings with a handheld magnetometer and cross-checked NOAA solar data. Nothing. No buried iron storms, no solar event to account for whole swaths of instruments insisting on one off-map direction. You don't get answers like that from noise. It's a precision that makes you uneasy.
Stories in town shifted from practical to hushed. An abandoned survey line, cairns rebuilt by hands that seemed to prefer the dark, a logging road left off federal charts. Names were spoken in half words. People began treating bearings like prayers, soft, repeated, and private.
You could hear the effort when folks tried to tidy it into a technical problem. Declination, they say, or faulty calibration. But after we ran the instruments, after we walked the ridgelines, tidy explanations lost their breath. That kind of insistence, everyone's tools pointing the same impossible way, doesn't come from a single bad batch.
Mara organized the searches like someone pulling a sweater over bruises. Steady, careful, insistently practical. Volunteers, thermoses, map sketches on napkins. Jonah's boot prints led to a rim where the ground simply ended. A last step, and then nothing. They followed that rim until the trees closed, and compasses began to misbehave again.
One volunteer said it felt like someone leaning a hand on your shoulder and never lifting it. Another said the air had a thickness to it, like the world added a page to the ledger and it made breathing heavier. I packed light the next time. I brought Jonah's dented compass because I trusted the memory in it more than a new instrument.
I'm not going to tell you not to go. I'm going to tell you not to make it an act of faith. Maps are tools, not prayers.
She went anyway. This wasn't simply a hunt for a person on a list.
It was the moment a tool started answering grief with direction, and she followed. It's not just about finding Jonah. It's about what happens when our instruments start answering for our grief.
The ridge narrowed. Snow whispered underfoot, though the calendar said otherwise. I counted steps like prayers. 2 heartbeats, 3 steps, another breath. When the trees thinned, there was a hollow, too neat, like someone had cut a mouth into the slope. Jonah's compass pointed straight into it.
She remembered the dent and trusted it. Inside the hollow, the air tasted older, like pages left in a box. She called his name until the valley swallowed the sound and returned a metallic rhythm, the click and slide of something aligning. Then she found a carved survey mark in the stone, a faded TR-47, like someone had tried to erase where the land had once been measured and named.
I found a scrap of his handwriting in my hand, an inside joke, laughing inked across a torn envelope. It was wet and the letters blurred, but it was his. I shouted then, not out of hope at first, but to make the place know someone had named him.
After she came back, we combed that hollow. Tracks that fitted 2 people. A bootlace snagged on a root. A knot Jonah tied. The sort of small, private detail that feels like a fingerprint. Nothing that gave a tidy answer. Instead, we found materials that read like notes. Items that belonged to people, and a place that seemed to keep them in a ledger that didn't necessarily balance the way we expect.
There were days when instruments calmed and behaved as if apologizing. There were nights when a donated compass would spin once in someone's pocket and stop pointing to nothing but that same stubborn, off-map direction. We didn't have answers for why, only the fact that the pattern existed.
The town changed how it treated bearings. People stopped treating compasses like tools only, and started treating them like the way a person might speak about a lost thing, often and softly, as if repetition would bring it closer. Mara collected what she could, a watch that ran backward for a day, a surveyor's nail filed smooth, a child's toy compass that, left on a windowsill, spun slowly in the dark and settled pointing off map. Objects became both evidence and invitation. The night remembers. The night remembers.
People asked me if following that needle had paid me in secrets. They asked if I was chasing something that wasn't meant to be found. I thought about Jonah's laugh, his lists, the way he made small rules for big days. I kept going because not going felt like admitting he was gone forever. That felt like its own wrong answer.
The record never rounded into a single truth. Sometimes the hollow gave a scrap and a trace. Sometimes it offered silence. And sometimes, late at night, a compass will spin once in the dark and stop, not toward north, but toward a place that remembers what we lose. The tools we trust can become the instruments of our grief.